Okay. So, dialing it back a little bit, how was your relationship with your sport as you, like, grew up identity-wise? Like, when did you start feeling it becoming a central part of who you were?
Well, I always thought it was a central part of who I was because, like, it always, like, your life kind of revolves around that, you know, once you start playing more competitively. And which is really hard because spending so much time afterwards, after soccer's over, this especially this last 2 years, I've learned so much about myself. I've fallen, like, in love with my degree and with so many other different activities that I had no idea that I even had liked, you know? So, like, there is obviously there's a privilege to that as well. You know, if I would have been able to not play as much club or done other things, right? Because at the end goal for me was to play collegiately. I also knew that my parents, you know, were gonna have a hard time paying for college if I had to do it by myself. So I was like, I need to go and play to make money. And when I was little, I was like, oh, I can go and I can play on the U.S. women's national team. And then I bottomed out at 5'3" when I was 16, and it's not happening. So and so yeah, it was everything to me. It was the reason why I was going to college. It was the reason why I stayed in shape, you know. And so, but then when it's gone, there's a really big empty hole, and it's really hard. And then you also realize, as it's gone, all of the scars that are still left. Obviously, there's a lot of good memories, but specifically from those emotional traumas that we hadn't yet processed it because of exactly what we've been talking about, which is we have to get rid of it. It doesn't. All that stuff that your coach yelled at you or whatever they said to yelled in your face, it never happened.
Yeah.
You know, it never happened. But that's it happened. It's just to them, if it's in a team space, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if anything, I would argue that that's when it matters the most, because these are the people that you spend the most time with. You know, and then for them to just kind of toss you aside so immediately it just shows the lack of empathy that a lot of coaches have. But which is what I was gonna say earlier, is essentially, like, as a teacher, we have to go through so many classes of learning kids, like pedagogy, emotional training, classroom management, all these different things that contribute to cultivating a good environment, right? But I think about it, and although we go to coaching school, and yes, we have coaches, like, we have certificates and stuff, we don't go through that necessarily emotional training. Yeah. You know, if you're just being a coach, if you're just teaching club, if you're just teaching collegiately. So, you know, your credibility, when it comes to, at least now, having that insight and also going through all of that training, I'm like, I don't, like, a coach can come up to me and criticize me or whatever I've said or whatever we've said, and if they don't have any of that emotional training, I don't care. I don't think you have any credibility. Yeah. You know, because at the end of the day, you've said, I'm done learning, I am done developing, I'm done making myself better, I'm done making myself better for these kids, for these girls, for these young women, for these young men. And so, and this is as good as it's gonna get. You know, and that's also the problem that a lot of teachers have with older teachers. Not all of them, but that, hey, this is how we did it for 50 years. There's no need to change it. Yeah. Well, yeah. But also, let's look at all those people who ended up playing collegiately. None of your kids ended up playing collegiately? Maybe because they lost love for the game, because you never decided to actually go and get help for yourself, or go and try to better, you know, your communication skills, because I'm a hard ass and it's my way or the highway, and that's it. But that's not how people work, you know? And this isn't the military. At the end of the day, yes, like I said, it's a privileged thing to say that this is only a game, and because some people's lives end up being, like, taken off from it, and or they end up, you know, being able to sustain on themselves from it. Yeah. Very few. But one of my friends from college told me, when I was having so much anxiety about playing, he said, dude, look at me. And I go, what? And he goes, this is a child's game. Children play this game. That's all that is. And I'm just like, you're right. I have so much anxiety that I literally was like, I wish I could get hurt.
Yeah. And
that's what happened. And God, the universe, whoever said, oh, I'm going to give you torn ACL, MCL, middle meniscus 2 days before I was supposed to start my first game. Because that's how fearful I was. I feel like I manifested that for myself. Like, because I was just so scared of my teammates yelling at me. I was so scared of my coach is yelling at me. And yeah, you want to say I don't have thick skin. It is what it is. But this is a lot of problems for a lot of younger people.
Yeah.
Having so much fear playing a game.
Because that fear has been instilled in us.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about identity, right? Mm-hmm. So we've been playing these sports since childhood, and we have gotten better and better and better and better, and it becomes a central part of who we are. Yeah. Even with their parents, you get more atta girls or good jobs and those affirmations when you do well, when you perform well. Like, everyone has had a bad game and gone home in the car with their parents, and their parents don't talk to them, or like they're yelling at them in the car. Like, everyone has had those moments, right? And so your identity kind of gets wrapped up in it, because it's like, hey, my mom and dad are mad at me. I got to do better. And for me to do better, I have to like really lock in. But then like you take it home and it becomes who you are, right? Mm-hmm. And then you get to college, and it's even a bigger part of who you are, because you've spent all of those years developing and trying your best to get better. And then you go with these coaches, and if they tell you all of these negative things, you take it home and you think, okay, I feel that way about me as a human being. There is no separation between it's just a game and then don't take it personally. And then that's how I feel as a person. All of those are intermixed, because you get throughout your entire life, it's been who you are. Yeah. Like, soccer is you. I am basketball. Yeah. So like, at any mistake, you're terrified of your coach getting mad at you, because that's a direct reflection of how you grew up, or like what you should have done. And so now I'm frozen in time, because you're so worried of like, oh no, they're gonna yell at me, I'm gonna get in trouble. But maybe if I get hurt, I hope I don't get hurt, but if I do get hurt, at least I won't have to go to practice and be worried all of the time. Exactly. So I completely understand that. Yeah, I understand.
The first time I had enjoyed practice in a long time was that first week of like being hurt. Obviously it was a lot harder as it went on, because I realized how much I missed playing and loved it. But it took all the stress out of everything, and I was able to just be there and enjoy like my time with the girls. And like I said, I'm not saying being competitive isn't fun. It is, in that scenario, you know? But at the same time, what is good about being competitive if afterwards you can't go and pick up your friend, you know, and help them off of the ground, or whether it's metaphorically or physically. Yeah. You know, because of that culture that you've made. And like, it's a team. This is a team. I get it, maybe if it was trials or something, but if you're on a team, yes, you're fighting for that spot every day, but you should be fighting forward, not intervening in other people's lanes in order for you to progress. Because that's what they want you to do. They want you to put your teammate on their ass, whether it's emotionally or physically, in order for them to get these cutthroat players. But if I just worry about myself, and I just focus on myself, and I just keep going forward, and you just keep telling me to go forward and motivating me, rather than degrading me or talking down to me, then that's what all the girls are going to do. Yeah. You know, instead of scaring them to where there's this girl that actually has, you know, a good amount of talent and a good work ethic, but you have literally critiqued her on every single little thing, but done it in a way to where she's scared of making a mistake now, as opposed to, hey, you know what? Yeah, you're doing it that way, but you could do it this way a little bit better, or this will help you, or this will make this go further, you know? You have to give an explanation. You can't just say, you can't do that.
This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. So now I'm terrified to even touch the ball. Like, don't pass it to me, because I'm going to mess up. Coaches get mad at me, then I'm going to sit on the bench. Yeah. Yeah, I completely understand that. Yeah, you're just terrified. And of course, when you're terrified, you're not playing to your full potential. Yeah. You're playing worse. Yeah. Whenever I was coaching, I always told my kids, they were scared because they were freshmen, and I loved those kids so very, very much. And I would tell them, hey, don't be scared. I would rather you go and mess up going 100% than you be scared to mess up and only give me 25. Yeah. Because at least when you're messing up at 100%, you're hustling, you're doing everything that you possibly can. But whenever you are only going 25%, you're not giving me your full effort, and it looks worse.
Yeah.
You know, and like I want you to make mistakes, because that's how you're gonna learn. That's how you're gonna get better. And you have to be able to fuel these kids emotionally and make them feel like they are the best players in the world, and they can be.
Yeah.
But you can't make it to where I'm so scared, because you're limiting their potential, and it's not having to do with them being mentally, like, not mentally tough. That is you making them scared.
Yeah.
And being a detriment to their mental health. Yeah. That's not them. That's you. Yeah. And a lot of coaches don't want to hold themselves accountable. No. They don't want to take a step back and go, you know what am I doing wrong to make my kids feel this way? Why are my kids always upset with what I'm doing and how I'm teaching, but you're belittling and you're berating them and you're making them feel less than? So do you really think they're going to go out and play to their fullest potential? Yeah. Hell no. They're terrified of you. And you can't sit there and preach, we're family. We're a sisterhood. You can't get us new warm-up shirts that say sisterhood.
You treat me like I'm part of Dad's side of the family.
Like, you can't preach those kinds of things and then bring us into the coach's office and have us be pit against one another. Yeah. You can't do that. You can't have it both ways. You can't teach us that, hey, you can't pick up your teammate off the ground whenever they fall. You can't help them or give them instruction on a drill they don't know, because it's a one-up for you and not for them. We're supposed to be a family, and you're supposed to be... if we're a family, you're our parents, right? So what kind of things are you teaching me to do? And whenever your support system is far away, like a lot of people when they go play collegiately, or even like in high school, like my kids would probably spend more time with me than they did at home. And like when you're in college, I played college basketball all over the country, right? So I spent more time with my coaches and my teammates than I did with my support systems that were so far away. So whenever you utilize your support system that's on the ground, which is your teammates and your coaches, if you're constantly around a culture to where it's like, oh no, you are bad, you're worthless, and emotionally messing with you psychologically, you've lost all your confidence because of the demeaning, ugly things your coaches say to you, like, you're gonna take that directly into the way you play and the way you treat others outside your sport. It is an internal factor that we don't talk about. But hey, remember, it is your fault if you let it get to you, because you're not mentally tough, because that's just how it is. Yeah. And it shouldn't be like that. Yeah. It's not being treated like a human being.
Yeah, literally. Like, that brings me... That just emphasizes that whole thing with like having that training, right? Because constantly we have assessments, whatever, but we also have so much reflection. Yes. Right? You're consistently, as teachers, you're consistently reflecting on the data, on the kids' reactions. You're consistently listening to them, even when they think that we're not listening to them. That is part of our informal observations, is walking around to see how they are trying to work things out, right? And then we reflect, whether it's internally or written down, right? But coaches, for a lot of them that don't have that type of training, don't understand that, but they also don't see to, internally reflect in general, because, well, I'm not doing anything wrong because I'm the expert here.
I'm perfect. I'm perfect.
And to an extent, they are the expert, but you can be an expert and not necessarily, you can be an expert without using your expertise, they don't use it a lot. They use it in very, very small ways, or they use it in very direct ways, or they twist it to where they use their knowledge against you. Yeah.
And if you think that you're the expert, if you think that you are above learning anything else, well, then you might as well retire.
Yeah, but honestly, even experts learn, teachers are considered experts in their field for whatever, right? But we're still learning. Do I know everything about history in the state of the world? No, I don't. I don't know every single thing. I'm consistently learning. And I'm even learning from the students as well. Like, projects that they do, they come up with information that I didn't even know before. And that adds on to my schema. It adds on to everything that I know. I was listening to this podcast yesterday. Actually, that was recommended to me by a friend. It's called Philosophize This. So in the podcast, it talks about how mental health and the epidemic within like young people and the increasing amount of mental health problems, does it necessarily have to do with students or kids or young people pulling up their bootstraps and being like, okay, I got this chemical imbalance, I have to fix it, I have to go to whatever doctor, I have to go to a therapist or whatever? Or does it also have to do with the community or the culture that is being created within either the country or their community? And I thought about that in respect to teams, right? Because so many of my teammates have always struggled with mental health problems, right? But they don't talk about it at practice because we're not allowed to. Because if you talk about your feelings, you're most likely not going to play because you're not seen as coachable, you're not seen as, you know, tough-skinned or anything. And when you're in specifically contact sports, emotional and physical attributes kind of go hand in hand, I guess, in the eyes of coaches, because if you're this soft person in real life, how are you going to be that competitive or that aggressive when it comes to putting somebody off the ball? You know? And so I kind of thought about it in that way, of this being more of a community effort, and how it's not necessarily us that are getting to, you know, whatever soft or whatever it is. We just realize with even more so education, especially being women, and probably this being the most amount of women in college ever, we understand that the things that are happening to us aren't necessarily correct. And it's not necessarily us just needing to be thicker skinned. There are consequences that come from people treating us with disrespect, but they don't see that consequences, only we do, and we feel them for the rest of our lives, right? You know, like, and it's so interesting because they talk about cultivating a family, right? This is a family, this is all that y'all are sisters, whatever, but then the moment that things get hard, we're not a family. So like, they put an emphasis on family and creating a culture within the team of, this is your sister, this is your sibling, whatever, right? We can lean on each other, but then immediately we are pinned up against each other with real life consequences, or within the team. I always think that that's so interesting, because there was one instance that happened to me in college where one of my coaches was, you know, promoting just that. But then it came to a drill in practice where there was this one girl who pushed this girl off the ball, right? It was a drill where once the ball's out of play, we run the ball back and we start over, okay? So there's a good 10, 20, 30 seconds of setting back up, okay? So ball goes out, girl picks my friend up from the ground, because obviously they're teammates. You know, like, the play is over. Right. He sprints over, says, leave her ass on the ground. You put her ass there, she needs to do it get up by herself. And I'm like, okay, I get the whole, like, you know, if you get pushed off the ball, you got to come back up. But this is practice. Yeah. These are your teammates, and you're also talking about a girl in front of her. Yeah. You know? And then he goes on to say, I'm tired of, he gets everyone to stop the entire practice, right? Even though after just, you know, talking about being a family, I'm so tired of all this lovey-dovey, whatever. Like, hugging and kissing and all this. And meanwhile, the girl that lifted her up is gay. Yeah. You know? And I thought that was just a little too on the nose. I thought that was a little too hit too close to home, because it's like, you know what you're saying. Yeah. You know, and the girl is like kind of like outwardly gay, and I was so angry. And so I was just fuming back there because I was in the goal. And then we start practicing corner kicks after that, and in my head I was like, if anything like that happens again, I'm walking out. And what happens? I go up for a ball and a corner kick. Girl runs into my stomach, knocks the wind out of me. 3 of my girls come up to help me to get up because I could not breathe. I physically could not even crawl or get up. Yeah. Leave her. I get leaving me for space and everything. But he essentially did the exact same thing, right? It was only a couple minutes later. Mm-hmm. So I crawl a good 10 yards off of the field until I'm finally at the end and I'm laying down, and, you know, and it's just...
Because your teammates were afraid to pick you up.
Yeah, they were afraid to pick, and they didn't. Nobody, and that's not necessarily their fault. They're conditioned to do that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I was like, what kind of culture are you creating if you can't even pick up your friend after a play? I pick up girls after I knock them on their ass during games that aren't on my team. Mm-hmm. If it has nothing to do, if the ball is out of play and it's not going to mess with a counterattack or the pace of that, then I'll help you up. Because at the end of the day, we're all people. Yeah. And I think that's what they forget. And that's what they forget to kind of promote a lot of times, especially when we're not only off the field but on the field.
Yeah. You don't have to demonize another person to get your point across.
Exactly.
I mean, it is just a game. I know internally it's more than a game. But two, like, at the bottom line, we're all people. Mm-hmm. And that was really wrong of your coach to do. Especially with her being gay and then the certain on-the-nose innuendos that he was using. Mm-hmm. Inappropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the same person who comes up to me and goes, so what do you think about trans people? And I'm like, girl, there's so many people that are not gay on this team right now. Yeah, give me that.
Red flag. Red flag.
Like there's so many people that are not.
Red card. I'm sorry. I don't know my fruits.
It made no sense. I was like, and this was at a hotel, and he just comes up to me and asks me that out of nowhere. And I'm like, number one, do you think this is appropriate? Number two, I already know what your stance on it is. So why am I going to let you manipulate me and patronize me and tell me, hey, whatever you just said, I'm going to try to deconstruct it, because you just have confirmation bias, which is what a lot of these coaches have. Yeah. You know, they just have, well, this is my side of the story. I'm going to do whatever I can to confirm that to the other coaches and to y'all so that I don't look stupid, instead of actually trying to see, who did I hurt? What did I do, and how can this make me better? Right. I just don't want to look like I have pie on my face. That's what they always propagate, you know, so.
And, you know, it would be different if you and that coach had a relationship and that you would be comfortable having that conversation with him. Like, y'all have developed a rapport where y'all talk about real world concerns and everything. And, you know, this is a hot topic. So how do you feel about this? And coming to you as someone that wants to learn. No, it's not your specific job to educate him. Mm-hmm. But if you had a relationship with him, you're like, okay, well, thank you for coming to me about this. Well, this is how I feel about it. But if he had the confirmation bias already, he already knows what he wants to hear. Yeah. And that's not what the kind of information that you're going to give him. He wasn't coming to you with a sense of urgency and I want to learn because I may be ignorant. Please teach me. Please educate me a little bit. How do you feel? I want to see your perspective. It was more of like kind of instigating a argument, especially if y'all didn't have that rapport relationship to bring on that. Facilitate a conversation out of education and trust. Yeah.
But even that, like, I mean, I guess, like, I've just never had a relationship with, like, a coach that has been that close. But even then, I just wouldn't, me being a high school coach, and I know there's a difference between adults and children, but I would never say anything like that. Yeah. You know? And that's just what is so interesting about the fact that they haven't gotten any training, is that things like this happen daily. Yes. Where they just speak out of turn, or they don't know boundaries.
Right. No boundaries. Mm-hmm. And that training, I feel like, is necessary. Yeah. If teachers have to be trained to get all of, like, the PD training and everything, emotional and everything, all of that means, like, adults, regardless what your profession is, but specifically coaching on a higher level with these young women, you should be trained. Yeah. You should be trained. It doesn't matter if these women are adults. It doesn't matter if you're 22 or 18. The people that are supervising you should be trained in mental health issues, because a lot of the issues that these athletes are having involving their mental health are stimulated by their coaches. Yep. The harassment, the abuse, all of that stuff is coming from people that are preying upon their want to be great and utilizing that to emotionally manipulate them. Yeah. And that is psychologically terrifying. Mm-hmm.
And it's not even that they want these individuals to be great. Because I see that in high school coaches. I see that in club coaches. They want each girl to be great. They want to set them up for success. But when they're at the place that they're supposed to be, where success is, supposedly, unless you go off to play WPSL or another major or minor league, which is very few and far between, they don't care about you. And that's one of the things that I love the most. And I will always, anybody that knows me, I talk about Ted Lasso all the time, right? And although they get on him in that show about needing to win and wanting to, as a professional team, he's like, I am more concerned about making these guys the best versions of themselves that they can be, which is what the show's about. And it's so interesting to me too, because all these coaches that I know love this show but practice none of it. They don't practice that respect, that mutual respect between coach and player. They don't practice holding their tongue if they hear something that is heard about them. They don't practice any of those things where it comes to taking men and women's, especially young men and women's, mental health seriously, because at the end of the day, talk to us however you want. Our temporal lobes aren't developed. You're talking to a child. Yeah. You're talking to a person. Yeah, yes, I know that we're not children, but help us understand. Yeah. Don't just talk down to us and then make us feel like we're more mature than you are. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And, that would require... having empathy requires a bit of accountability, and that's something a lot of coaches don't have, right? Yeah. I consider coaching a very prideful profession because a lot of coaches don't want to take themselves and put themselves in somebody else's shoes and walk around in them. They don't want to think, okay, the way I came across was harmful because it made somebody else feel this way. Yeah. Like, they don't want to hold themselves accountable and go, hey, I can understand how the way I said that was at a detriment to you, and because that would force them to have to reflect on their actions. They don't want to do that. They think they're perfect. They are prideful. They don't want to recognize what they did was wrong. Accountability sucks, but you have to have a sense of accountability if you're going to grow, both as a human being and a coach, and just generally within your profession. Yeah. And I think a lot of that stems from, we're a payout to them. We're a stepping stone for them. We are a means to advance their careers. We are not human beings to them. We're not young women. We are a means of a check. And as long as they're getting paid, they don't have to treat us like human beings. They don't have to be held accountable as long as their salaries are confirmed, their contracts are continuously renewed. I mean, if they can be complete assholes to us and be totally fine with it, as long as the athletic director just keeps on renewing that contract.
Yep, because that's what one of my coaches literally told me. He told all of us, I don't know what he was angry about, but he goes, I got an offer from somewhere else, and it pays a lot more, but I decided to stay here for y'all. And I'm like, why did you need to tell us that?
Because he wants you to feel indebted to him.
Exactly. He wants to manipulate us into feeling that we're so lucky to have you, so please treat me however because I'm so lucky, As opposed to, if you truly meant what you said, that you truly care about us, you would have never said that. And that's what's so funny to me is a lot of these coaches, they say, well, I did this for you, I did this for you, I did this for you. But a real coach, a real person who cares about these girls, who cares about their players, doesn't say any of that because it shows it through all of their actions.
That is emotional manipulation.
Yep, exactly.
There's one story that I have that is coming to my mind. Oh my gosh. I was at my first school, and our coach had put our media team up to this, and my first school, the majority of my teammates were people of color. Like, we only had one white girl we had two white girls on our team. And majority
of basketball?
So shocker, right? So majority of my teammates were women of color, and he got the people of color, ones that I guess made good grades and everything that he thought were well spoken, right? And I was one of them, and put us in front of a camera, and one of the questions our media team would ask us would be like, so what would you do if you didn't get a scholarship to come to this university? And the answers were supposed to be, I'd be probably just stuck in the ghetto, stuck in the projects, would never leave. So it was kind of like, you saved me. He was playing the white savior card for a lot of these young women. And me, I am privileged in that I come from a financially stable background. My parents are former teachers, and they have they started from the bottom, and I am financially stable, and that if I didn't get a scholarship, I would probably, I mean, I had offers to go somewhere else. It's not like this was my only place to go. I chose this.
Also academically.
Yeah, I mean, I could have gone somewhere else. My parents could have footed the bill for my education. I am economically privileged in that way, and I'm very, very thankful for it. Yeah. But I was made to say something along the lines of, well, like, I probably would just be going somewhere local. I wouldn't get the opportunity to go anywhere else. And it was just like, that's so wrong. Yeah. Because, like,
so you earned it.
I earned it. I did this. Yeah. But they wanted to play on the, you know, you saved me. You brought me out of a place that I would have never got out of.
Because they need it for their sponsors.
Thank you. Yes. And so, like, our program would get more donations because, oh my gosh, this amazing coach lifted these black kids out of the ghetto, and then now they are productive, articulate young women.
No, they were that before they came.
Exactly. They earned the right to come here on a full scholarship. They earned that. Blood, sweat, and tears, they did that. You did not save them from anything. Yeah. Like, they deserved to be here. And it was made to where, oh no, I did that for them. They would just be lonely kids on the street if I hadn't given them the opportunity to come here.
Like, girl, no. You have playing Division I, you don't think anybody else sees your worth? That is not even defined by necessarily a scholarship anyway.
Yeah, it's the indebtedness. Yeah, and true. Like, when we talk about the indebtedness part of it, like, this is our way of paying for our education, right? And a lot of us, like, my parents could have paid for my education. I understand that I am privileged in that way, but, like, some of my teammates, like, they're on Pell Grant. They were getting a lot of FAFSA stuff. Like, they did not have the economic means that I did, so they were depending on these scholarships and working their butts off in high school and AAU and doing everything, and their parents put all of this money. When we talked about how commercialized AAU is and how everyone needs a trainer, everyone needs to get on a club team, and how much money that requires. So a lot of these people are putting all their money into that, and so their parents, so they can get recruited, and so their parents don't have to pay for their college, right? So now panning to that white savior complex, right? Now that indebtedness is there because, look, they're paying for my school, and if I decide to quit, now my parents are going to be expected to foot a bill that they don't really have the financial means to. And so, like,
you're trapped.
Yeah, you're trapped. And heaven forbid, I mean, that's one of the things at my second school, when things were getting very, very abusive and everything, I had 2 more years of eligibility, and I was like, okay, I already graduated, and I didn't want to get stuck, because if I started a 2 years master's program, if the next year it got even more abusive, I'd be stuck. My parents would have to pay. Yeah. And, like, yeah, financially my parents could pay, but I didn't want to put that financial burden on them anyways, because they didn't go in with the expectation that they were going to have to pay anything because I was paying for it, right? So you are financially trapped, and they will make you know that.
Oh no, yeah. Yeah. They tell you every day that, oh, that can be taken away. You're probably not going to be here next year. But then they're like, you're family, though.
Your family. Yeah, sure. I'm family, but you can take it away from me at any point. And that's the thing. You're messing with people's entire lives. Yeah. Entire lives. Like, every time you transfer, there is a high possibility that all your credits don't transfer. And so I was very, very lucky in that when I was transferring, I was asking the academic people, okay, these are my transcripts, what will transfer over? Because I would hate for me to have to redo classes, and because that's not fair to me. But imagine being kicked off a team for reasons that just were illegitimate, and then having to start over or start your master's program over again, having to pay for another year of your master's program.
All because of one person?
One person. And so now
and they're like, oh, it's fine.
They don't care. You have changed the course of this person's life, and you do not care. Yep. Now they are financially responsible for something that they were not prepared for. Like, that changes the trajectory of somebody else's life. Yeah. And that's terrible.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, like, if there's a girl that you recruited and they're not playing up to par, you know, have that conversation with them, but help them. Yeah. Don't take forever to put them in the coaches portal, in the transfer portal. Don't take forever to do their paperwork. Like, that just shows how much you really didn't care about them to begin with. Like, I had an experience where I had a coach who had recruited me. Actually, they probably had multiple, but where they recruited me, I signed, then immediately after that, different person. The nicest person I ever met, and then they're yelling at this one girl on the field. Do you know how to kick a ball? Do you know how to kick a ball? Hold on, everybody. I got to stop and teach this one girl how to kick a ball. Stops the entire practice because she missed one cross. He sets the ball down and does this whole huge theatric thing where he acts like a dumbass just to belittle her. And because obviously if we're here, we all know how to kick a ball. We all know how to pass. We all know how to cross. Mm-hmm. So you just did that to embarrass her, mm-hmm. which is bullying. That's bullying, and you're like 5 years old. And I don't get that, you know? Like... They do that, and then they're like, you're mean girls. I had a coach tell us all, you're mean girls. You're like the Mean Girls movie. And talk to us for 2 hours because one coach had essentially said something about a girl, about her playing or whatever, how much better the game was that she wasn't in, right? Girl's friend hears it. Girl's friend tells girl's really angry, mm-hmm. but doesn't say anything out of respect. But to that assistant coach, he comes up to her, he goes, what's up, we good? And she goes, why didn't you tell any of that to my face? Yeah. And he goes, well, I said that, but it was like taken out of context, whatever, right? Coach doesn't show up to practice for the next 2 games. My head coach comes and says, you're the reason why he's not here, because y'all are all mean girls. Y'all are all mean. Because y'all started something that you couldn't put your ass behind? Yeah. And good on your teammates for notifying that girl. Like, if my name is said and I'm not around, if you're a loyal teammate, you'll come up to me and you'll tell me. The only thing about that is, she tells her, when he is scolding all of us, that girl, I don't blame her because, like, this is the whole reason why you're having this podcast in general, but she doesn't say anything. So he just lectures us for 2 hours. You know, and just talking about how we were so mean and how we're so this and this and this and how we are vindictive and all this. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? This is the same man who literally, girl missed a shot, right? And he gets up, jumps up and down and goes, no, literally like that. And I have video of that. Like, that's crazy. That video, and then he's like, y'all need to act like grown adults. And I'm like, girl, practice what you preach. What do you mean, sir? Like, you're literally, like, whining, crying, yelling in girls' faces, all over something that if you just sat and gulped it for a second, you wouldn't be doing all these outbursts that have very, very small effects on you, but very big effects on all these girls. Yeah. You know? And that's what I don't get, is that they don't hold themselves to the same standards that they want to hold their mm-hmm. kids to, you know? Like, the moment that we do something on the field, like, say a girl does something to us, yes, we should be quiet for the most part, and we should try to play forward instead of play back. Mm-hmm. They're throwing things, they're throwing their hats, they're throwing clipboards. Like, that is abuse. Yeah. That is doing that. Like, if a girlfriend was throwing things and breaking things in front of you, would you not think that that's abuse? I had a relationship like that. I thought that was abuse. Yeah. That's a great point. If your boss at your corporate job starts doing that, would you not go to HR and talk to them about it? It's all about women being seen and not heard. And the patriarchal standards that we have. Yeah, because like, going on top of that, right? I had coached at a couple of high schools and stuff for my student teaching. And I was at one, right? And this dude, he's playing on the field and he flagrantly fouls this one dude. And he also talks back to the ref and is yelling in the ref's face. The coach calls him off. We had just had, like, something like this happen with one of our girls, mm-hmm. right? And I know that she's not, like, a malicious girl, but she has a hot head, so I screamed at her to come here and don't talk to the ref like that. Yeah. Okay? Because she was in the wrong. Yeah. And so was this dude. He comes off, he says, good job, puts him on the bench. That's it. No talking to, no nothing. A flagrant yellow card as well, which means that he had to come off and they had to play with 10 people for a little bit. Mm-hmm. and nothing. But God forbid that was a woman, right?
Yeah.
Because then she looks hysterical, which is what they all love to say. She looks emotional. She looks this and this and that.
Seen and not heard.
Yeah, which is funny because the most emotional coaches I've ever had have been men. I've never seen a woman throw things. I've never seen a woman do all the extra things that all the men coaches that I've had.
Yeah.
And what happens is that nobody tells them, like, to be honest, nobody mothers them and says, shouldn't be talking to girls like that. Yeah. Or to people like that in general. No. I know we get so stuck on, like, men talking to women a certain way, but there's also, like, women that talk to women a certain way, but there's also, it's just people talking to people. Mm-hmm. And we don't get that, like, some people don't get that everyone deserves self-respect. Like, the whole freshman coming in and, you know, having to pay their dues or whatever, like, yes, I think that, like, everybody should, you know, not just waltz in and be, I guess, entitled, right? But we should all come in on an equal playing field. We all got the same scholarship. What, you've been here for a couple years. That's because you were born before me, not because you're better than me. Yeah. And I'm not because you're better than me, whether on the field or as a person. Yeah. So, and that's where I'm talking about all this hierarchical stuff that is created by coaches because they want to create this military thing when this is a game. Yeah. This is meant to have fun. Yeah. Yeah, and enjoy. Like, they talk about all the men of their time or whatever, Maradona, all these dudes that had... Did they look like the dudes right now? No, like, they're all, like, they just had fun. Yeah. You know, and I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with putting all of your life into being competitive and into your physique, but at the same time, you know, you shouldn't hurt people in exponential ways for something that, especially that they're never going to play in the rest of their life. Right. You know. Right.
I think you're hitting on the right things when we're talking about, like, a hierarchical structure. It's it's a gross caste system. Yeah. Because it's the people in positions of power utilizing their power in the wrong way, not to uplift. It really is a power trip. It's about power. It's not about trying to fuel these athletes and make them better. It's about how can I bolster my status and show them that I'm the man, I'm the big guy on campus. I have control. And if these young women don't worship me, they're the problem. Yep. They're the problem, and they're my subordinates, and I can play with their scholarships. Everything is punitive. I can make their asses run, get on the line. It's not about making them better. It's about collecting your check and being an asshole in the process. Yeah. Flexing your power for the sake of a paycheck. And it's so wrong. But that's the thing. If we don't call it out, they get to continue. They get to continue. So that's why we're doing this. Yeah. Because if you're in a position of power and you're not utilizing that to uplift others, you're doing it the wrong way. Exactly. You're contributing to a corrupt hierarchical structure, and that's wrong. Yeah. One other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, Mari, is how you were kind of having to navigate a lot of spaces whenever you were in Canyon, Texas. I mean, I know a little bit about Canyon, Texas, in that it is a predominantly white area. I mean, I have family that is from Canyon, Texas, so I know. But you being a woman of color and a gay woman of color, going to a place like that, going to school in an area like that, what was that like for you? It was very daunting. I mean, initially, everyone was so welcoming and everything, and even when they found out I was gay, they didn't, like, teammate wise, they never cared. Couldn't say the same thing about high school, but honestly, dating was very sparse. But it was interesting because you're kind of. You're seen as a stereotype. You're seen as, the token either gay girl, or there has to be a gay girl on every team, right? So it was really interesting navigating it that way, because you never, as a person who dresses a little bit more androgynously and also kind of takes on, like, those type of roles, you have to walk on eggshells
whether or not, and that's not necessarily other people's fault, but at the same time, you come from culture of where there's a lot of people that you just, especially living in Texas, you just don't know how they would react to anything. So anytime I touch someone, or even though it's a team camaraderie and people are hugging over each other, all that, like, I would ask, is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay? You know? So it was really interesting. But there was an instance my junior year that was really bad, and it's also like a reason why I don't talk to a lot of these people that I do anymore. But we had traveled somewhere, and there was obviously a gay girl on the other team that we were playing, and I was standing on the sideline because we all stood at that time, and 5 yards in front of me, this girl pushes one of my teammates on a very challenging but clean tackle, and then the ball goes out. As the ball goes out, my teammate screams, "You fucking dyke!" And the entire sideline just goes. My roommate goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe she just said that. I'm disgusted." And I was like, okay. I was like, everyone's here for me. Like, I feel good about this. I feel like, I mean, I don't feel good about what happened, but I feel like this is the proper response. Yeah. Okay, what's gonna come next from coach? Okay, I'm like thinking, well, the game's about to end. Let me go ahead and apologize to that girl, because I know my teammate has a really hot head, and especially after them just saying that, they're going to be in no place to apologize, nor do I really want to talk to them. And I also just wanted to let the girl on the other team know that didn't represent who we were, especially like that representing me and how I could tolerate that being a gay person. Right. Watching prejudice happen right in front of me. And so I go up to the girl, and as I'm about to go up, one of my friends goes, "Are you going to go and like apologize to her?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Good, because I'm going to go and do the same thing." Right. And I go, and she goes, "It's okay. It happens all the time. Stuff like this happens all the time." And I was like, "Yeah, but it shouldn't." Right. It shouldn't.
Should never.
And that also tells me that there is a culture around here and in women's sports that is allowed, especially when we have male coaches, because they just don't get it. No. And so afterwards, I have this huge fight with that girl, that teammate. And I say fight, but I was like crying the whole time because I hate confrontation. And the coaches just say, "Hey, not on the field. What do you think you're doing?" Nothing to her. Fine. 2 days goes by. We have our first practice. We meet in the locker room to talk. All of us. I'm thinking, okay, I know that he hasn't talked to her about it. Maybe we're going to have an entire discussion around it. He looks at both of us after he goes, "Yeah, this weekend, there's a lot of things that happened. There was some words said that shouldn't be said." And he looks at us, because we sat next to each other and we kind of already talked about it. Kind of let them off the hook for that really easily. But and he goes, "Y'all good? We're not going to say that anymore?" Okay. And that was it. That was no reprimand, no nothing, no consequences, no nothing. Meanwhile, I know that girl went home on the other team and is still probably here today, like knowing that girl was seen by her entire team, the entire coaching staff, and they said, "We condone that. We're not going to do anything about it. We're not going to take..." If that was my player, they would either be off the team or suspended for I don't know how many games. Yeah. Because that's not acceptable. Because what does that have to do with anything about how this person plays? Just because they wear longer shorts or have short hair, apparently that has to do with them putting you on your ass? And whatever had happened before that was heightened, there's no justification for straw manning someone like that,
Yeah, that is awful. No justification for that.
Yeah. And so, but there's stuff like that where I just can tell in the culture, like, we're not going to do anything about that, especially if this is a lead goal scorer. Yeah.
The slap on the wrist and the lack of accountability in your coach.
And looking at me and telling me that essentially was my fault as well. Like, I had no fault in that. I don't care if I yelled at somebody on the field. It's more than you did.
Right. You were holding your teammate accountable for her actions.
Yeah. For being, like... and then acting ignorant, like, I never understood that, and that was kind of my last straw over there. Also, like, I was like struggling with my mental health as well. Okay. You know, transitioning from being out for a year, because during COVID I can only go to rehab once a week, because instead of every single day, because of COVID restrictions and stuff. And so my 6 months journey turned into a year, and seeing all that was just horrible, but also like transitioning into trying to get back into that caliber of play was really hard, and that's why a bigger reason why I transferred. But also just having that stress, and that from I'm not going to be better, and like this dude doesn't even back me up when it comes to literally things that obviously me being gay doesn't define who I am, but it is a defining factor of who I am. Yeah, you know what I love, who I love, and so it was just it was a real slap in the face. To be like, you don't matter, essentially, because we're not going to do anything about this.
I mean, it wasn't just a soccer issue, it's a human issue.
Yeah, exactly.
There are things that are bigger than your sport, and he had the perfect opportunity to make your teammates better, making them better citizens, making them better humans, and he didn't take it because he cared more about soccer than he cared about the humanizing part of it all.
When this is real, and although soccer is real, it's made up.
It's a game, right?
A person made it up. Every sport is made up by someone. But you can't change the way that I make you feel. I can't tell you don't feel that way. All I can do is what I can to help you and to validate you and to try to make that correct. But he's saying this man-made thing, this means a lot more to me than your real feelings. And that's never, that will never be a priority for me. It's always going to be their feelings, you know?
Man, I'm really sorry that happened.
No, it's okay.
I'm glad that you took it upon yourself to hold your teammate accountable, and I know you don't like confrontation, but that's a really important conversation that you had to have, and that's really good that you did.
Thank you. Really good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for that other girl too.
Oh yeah.
People watch this.
I mean, that bus ride home for her, like that.
Yeah, I know. And she was laughing it off and everything, and I'm just like, I just know that was rough, and I know that for good reason that entire team went home and were like, those are a bunch of bigots.
Yeah, because she is now represented, like that one teammate represented by saying that, like, you put on a uniform, you are a representation of your entire team. One person says something out of pocket like that, all of y'all, now it's generalized to the entire team. Like, one person does a dirty play, okay, they're all, that team, dirty players. One person says a bigoted phrase or a homophobic slur or something, that entire team.
And especially when there's no consequences afterwards, that it validates the bigotry.
And being in that part of Texas, I mean, there's already kind of expectations.
Yeah, 2 years later, the president there didn't let a drag show happen because he said it was offensive to women by men dressing up as women. He said it was offensive to femininity. I think that's what he said.
Okay. Yeah.
So it makes sense. It makes sense as to why they took that stand. I had talked about this previously, but basically, when that coach kind of knew, or I feel like coaches kind of know what they're doing, right? Like that coach that recruited me. And other coaches have done this before too, where they recruited me and then you see them actually in practice and they're totally different people. Right. It's like, this is how you're supposed to be acting, right? Treating people with decency. Hey, could I get you anything? Whatever, stuff like that, you know? And then they switch off because they're like, we got you in our grasp, and you've signed a contract, you've accepted the money. You can't do anything about this now except complain or lose your money, right? And so that... It tells me that a lot of these coaches know exactly how to be good people or how to have empathy, but maybe they haven't won that way in the past, but from what I've seen, most people that win have mutual respect for one another. Yeah. But, or they just are complacent in not developing like their communication skills to what it could be and how they could actually help students and children. But they're like, I'm going to stick with this.
Yeah. I guess in their mind, ethics and empathy don't win championships.
Yeah.
And that is so wrong.
Apparently
because
not.
there are things that are bigger than your sport.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Community, the people around you.
Exactly.
Like, the life of the person next to me should mean more than any trophy.
Mm-hmm. You're building humans, not just athletes. Yeah. But you only see them as athletes and money makers for you, means to a paycheck, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love how you mentioned that, because I have a similar instance. So whenever I was in my last year of, no, not even my last year, the second to last year, playing college basketball at my third school, there was multiple reports made to my Title IX coordinator and to our athletic director about harassment and ethical issues going down in my program, right? So many things were going awry. And then we ended up having a boycott. I organized a boycott with my team.
That's so cool.
It seemed cool at the time, but then like I sacrificed. I said this in our previous episode that like I sacrificed a whole lot. Like my senior year was basically going to be over the following year because the vendetta that was held against me.
Yeah.
But it was held to that point because we had talked to our captains about issues that were going on that were unrelated to basketball, the interferences within personal issues that coaches were doing, just a whole lot of abuse and harassment, just a lot of stuff going on that had nothing to do with X's and O's. We had gone through the right channels. We had made reports to our captains who went and talked to our coaches, right, to no avail. Then we talked to our Title IX coordinator multiple times. I reported my coaches at least 3 to 4 times. Other people reported them multiple times to our Title IX coordinator. Reports are made to the athletic director, all of this stuff. Then nothing happened, right?
Yep.
So then we had to have the boycott because it was like, look, you're going to listen to us because you're treating us like we're not human beings.
Yep.
And we're human beings before we are athletes in your paycheck, right? So we talked, we had the people that spoke up the most got hit with the punitive punishments after.
I have no doubt.
Yeah, and the people that didn't speak up were kind of rewarded for it and told like, hey, thank you for being loyal to the program, right? So like, of course the boycott was something that happened like spur of the moment, right? It wasn't something that was planned. It was kind of like, this is the final straw.
It's kind of like that. It's like in that heat of passion, you're just like this
no,
is it.
We're done.
Yep.
I'm tired of waiting for fair treatment. We're going to demand for it now. Demand for human decency now, and that shouldn't be something that's hard. You want to be the center of attention right now, huh? Can you sit down? Lay down. Lay down. Hey.
I just wanna.
You just wanna snuggle, and that's okay. But anyways, so after the boycott, right? Compliance, of course, got involved because it was the talk of the athletic department, like women's basketball, shit's going down, right? Oh, the girls are fighting back. Oh, right.
There's an uprising.
There's an uprising, mutiny, right? Like we had just said, enough is enough. Yeah. Enough is enough. So compliance started coming to all of our practices for like good 3 weeks, and our practices were like 2 hours long, and they were there in the stands watching. The head of compliance just there, Title IX coordinator there at our basketball games, and then it got better for us. It got better. The treatment was better. There was times before that I wasn't even allowed to practice. They put me on the sideline. I wasn't even allowed to sub in. So there were some days that I just wasn't allowed to practice. Yeah. There was none of that. Like we were subbing and we were being treated like human beings, you know? There was critique going on and actual coaching and encouragement and stuff.
Constructive criticism.
Yeah, the ethical stuff was happening, right? But it took them being watched, knowing that one, their contracts were going to be up the following year, and we had a boycott of the issues that were going on, and it took compliance to come watch every day for things to change, right? Well, of course, like that's an impediment to their job. Like compliance, their job is not to come babysit grown adults, and so they eventually stopped coming. Yeah. And then things just started to regress and backslide. And so it goes to your point of they know what they're doing is wrong, and they know how to behave correctly and ethically, but it takes them to be watched to behave the way they should. So they know what the right thing to do is, but they are actively doing what's wrong, and they say that, hey, that's just how you're going to win championships. No, that's how you get uprisings and boycotts and women demanding to be treated correctly. Yeah.
I feel like there has probably been so many instances where there has been a justification for a boycott, but we're just all too scared.
Yeah.
You know, and so like that's so. It's not amazing that it got to that point, but it's so amazing that you had a group of women that were like standing there with you and behind you, because although the situation that you're in is not lucky, the people that you had around you were very lucky. Yeah. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with about the people that I had around me. It's just we're all victims of that manipulation, and it takes so much courage and confidence to be able to do that. And to other girls that either I didn't know what the situation was going on, or I knew afterwards, or I wasn't a part of it necessarily, I feel so horrible for not sticking up for them as much. Although like I was 18, 19, 20, but at the same time, like to any girl that didn't feel stood supported by from me, I'm so sorry, and I hope that I can continue to do that in the rest of my life with coaching and trying to become better and trying to change that culture and trying to reform from within, and also giving girls a coach that is going to fight for them and fight for their mental health whilst also fighting for them in other ways as well.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I always joke that having critical thinking skills is a burden.
Yeah, it is.
It's hard because, you know, when you have the ability to think critically, you're able to recognize like, hey, I've been conditioned to thinking being called a worthless piece of shit is okay. You know? But then when you have the critical thinking skills, you think, oh wait, you know, that's not okay. I shouldn't treat other humans like that, and no one should be saying that to me because that is awful. Yeah. And so like having to overcome that is a really, really big step in overcoming your conditioning, right? So and that's hard, and throwing and having a boycott is hard. It was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. But it was kind of like, we have to at some point say enough is enough. Yeah. And we demand to be treated fairly with human decency, and it's bigger than basketball. And I knew in those moments I was giving up my following year of basketball. Excuse you. I was giving it up. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like, being treated like a human being, and for my teammates to be treated like a human being was going to be worth more than any minute served on that basketball court. Like, you can exploit my athletic ability, but you can never exploit my character. Yeah. So you can't take it. Yeah. So it's like taking control of your narrative is developing those critical thinking skills and realizing, hey, I deserve more, and it shouldn't be an act of courage to deserve to demand to deserve more, but because of there's silence, there is. There's always I think that's the biggest thing about both of us being historians and having that critical thinking, because every single thing that we write about is, why did this event happen? Why? What made it happen? And so by us going and doing all that primary source and secondary source hunting or whatever, we're essentially investigators and detectives and that's why I think it's so important, sidetrack, to learn history, is because you not only learn history, but you also learn those critical thinking skills and investigative skills to, hey, not everything is as it seems. Right. You know, especially with all those different just reading in between the lines, or just reevaluating something for bigger than its surface value, you know? Reading through silences. Yeah, so instead of all those girls being like, this is just the way it is, they just yell at us and we have to take it, you know? Think, why? Why is this the way it is? And then when you think why, you're like, should it be that way? Absolutely. And if the answer is no to you, then it shouldn't. Right. And it takes a group of strong women to because that's essentially what ethics is. It's just, should it be this way or should it not be this way? And if majority of us think that it shouldn't, why is it still that way? Oh, because one person in a room of 25 people has that much power over all these people's mental health. Exactly. We are in complete agreement with that. Yeah. All right, y'all. That is all the time we have. Thank you so much, Mari, for coming and speaking with us. I feel like this was wonderful and very productive. I had so much fun. I'm so excited. And I hope to have you back sometime to talk about some more stuff. Never. I would love it. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I want to give a special shout out to our crew, Peyton and Connor. Thank you so much for everything that y'all do. We love you. This wouldn't be a successful thing without you guys. So thank you very, very much. Wouldn't be able to do this without y'all. And yes, if you're listening, if you're tuning in, please know that you are more than enough.
Always.
Oh,
No!
Damn it!
I thought it was you,